a little over halfway through the year, and some of us may be at a point where we're realizing we're not meeting our reading goals. Well, don't you worry, because I am here to help you out today, because today I want to give a suggestion to all of you for some of the short books that I've been reading recently, which can help you to meet your reading goal. Now, I don't want to claim that these are books that you can read in one day, because I don't know how busy you are, and I don't know what your reading speed is like, so maybe it'll take you a little bit longer. But all of these books float around 200 pages. A couple of them are a little bit longer in the format I read them in, but that's because I read them in ebooks. They might be different depending on edition or format that you read them in. But all these are fairly short, and even the longer ones are fairly engaging, which means that you will want to end up reading them. So without further ado, let's dive into some short books to help you meet your reading goal. The first one is Convenience Store Woman, and this is a book that I found really interesting because it's less of a novel and more of a character study of the main character. It follows a woman by the name of Kiko who's been working at the same convenience store for the past 18 years since it opened. She finds a deep comfort in the structure and the rules of the convenience store, and she's able to mimic the other people who she works with to find a way to feel normal. Now, Kiko is a very interesting character because she is very clearly neurodivergent, and she has this desire for this structure in her life, and she has this desire to have these people around her that she can mimic and use that to mask. And I found that really, really interesting. I found it really interesting to look at her mindset and the way that she interpreted the world and the people around her and how much she loved the convenience store. It's a very short book. It's not even divided into chapters. It's just sort of one long continuous writing. But I really, really loved it. It was unlike any other book format that I had really read before, having this like long, continuous study of her character. And yes, there is a character in this book who she meets who is sort of disenfranchised with society and other people, and he tries to convince Kiko that she needs to be more normal, that she needs to have a different job. And that character is definitely really irritating, but not in a way that it's not written very well. Actually, it's written very well. He's written to be irritating and misogynistic and just the worst. But he does offer an interesting contrast to Kiko. While he is misanthropic and feels like he's being signaled out for not fitting, you actually see that he's kind of an awful human being, and that may be justified. Whereas with Kiko, she feels very isolated from other people, but she doesn't necessarily hate them. She does want to fit in with them, and I think that offers a really interesting contrast. It's a really, really interesting look into this character's mind, and if you're looking to get into something that's a little bit more like a character study than a novel, then this is a really good place, and it's super short, so you can very easily get it done. The next book I want to talk about is one that I already have talked about on this channel, but I felt like it fit the description, so I wanted to talk about it again, and that is Ayawati on Top. Ayawati on Top is by Richard Ayawati, a British comedian who's very well known for his very dry, sarcastic, unimpressed comedic style and sort of playing up his apathy to certain things. And this book is all about him watching a Gwyneth Paltrow movie called View from the Top. Now, I talk about the movie and this book a lot more detail in my video about this book, so if you want a really in-depth review of this, I will direct you there. But I will very shortly say that this book is so funny. If you are a fan of commentary videos like Drew Gooden or Danny Gonzalez and you love watching them watch bad movies, this is basically those videos in book format. But throughout this book, he also does something very interesting by including these sort of tangential stories about his own childhood, which I think adds this kindness and personal connection to it, where a lot of times this book could be seen as being rather mean. It actually comes across as really personable and just very funny, which is why I enjoy it so much and why I think the combined style of sort of a memoir and a movie commentary works so well. But this book also satirizes the academic genre of writing, especially when looking at academic writing on films and film canon, which is again another genre that it dips its toes into, and I find it just so hilariously deadpan and straightforward, and I think you will also really enjoy it. This next book is one that you may have heard of because it is actually fairly well known within certain circles, and that is Elemento P. Now, Elemento P is a book that I think is criminally underrated, and it focuses on an island called Nollop, where everyone worships the man who came up with the sentence, "The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog," which combines every single letter of the alphabet. When letters start falling off of this plaque in the city for him, they take it as a sign that they are no longer supposed to use those letters, and they start punishing people who do. This book is epistolary, so it is told through the letters of the different people who live on this island, and as it progresses, we start to see these letters stop being used. And at first you don't really notice it. The first couple of letters are not that common anyways. They start using different words, but as it goes on, they start using phonetic spellings. They start using nicknames for certain things. And it is a really interesting commentary on sort of tyranny, absolute governmental control, separation of church and state, the use of religion to persecute those, and the power of words. It is so heavy, but here's the thing, it could be considered a middle grade novel. It is fairly easy to read, it is very short, and the great thing about this book is that it is so tied to the literary format. This book would not work as a film or a TV show because so much of it is tied to the way that the words appear on page. It is so tied to realizing that the letters are missing, that words are being gotten rid of because they have the forbidden letters in them. And it's so well written. It covers so many heavy themes, and it's so incredible. And I can't believe it is not talked about more than it is. It's a great way to cover these heavy themes while also doing it in this really unique style in a really easy writing format that really anyone could understand. The next book is a book called Small Things Like These, and this follows a man by the name of Bill Furlong and his family over the course of a Christmas in Ireland. What I love about this book is it is really only focused on sort of like this main week surrounding Christmas and leading up to Christmas, and him discovering that the town is not as clean as he thinks it is. He discovers that there is something much darker happening at the local convent when he goes to deliver some coal to the nuns there. And this basically makes him start questioning everything about his life. The other great thing about this book is that we do get to see his life with his family, with his wife and his daughters, and we also get to see a little bit of his childhood, how he was born as a child out of wedlock, how his mother died, how he was raised by these people. But in the same sense, while seeing the community lift him up, we're seeing the same treatment not be afforded to other children born out of wedlock and women who are having these children through what is happening at the convent. What we see is we see Bill finding this connection with this young girl who is being so mistreated, and how that connects to his own childhood and his own connection to his mother. And it is just such a well-written short book. It doesn't feel rushed. Remarkably, it has an incredibly slow pace, but it actually tells the story so quickly and so concisely. And I think it's a real testament to the fact that you can tell really big stories in really short spans of time. You can really cover a lot of information, but be very concise with it, which I really love. And I think it's just such an interesting dynamic of his family versus what is happening, him discovering this little village is not quite what he thought it was. The book I want to talk about to you today is a book called A Wizard of Earthsea, which is the first book in Ursula K. Le Guin's Earthsea series. Now, this book is a little bit slower paced, and the version that I had was much more than 200 pages, but I also got it as an ebook, so depending on the format you get or the edition you get, it will probably be shorter than mine. A Wizard of Earthsea functions as a kind of prequel to a wizard called Ged, or the Sparrowhawk. We see him as a young boy discovering that he has the ability to do magic, see him meet a wizard and become his apprentice, and even see him go off to this magic school, having his pride get him into a lot of trouble. Eventually, we see him completely on the run from this shadow that is chasing him after he tries to prove that he can raise the dead as a young boy, and is constantly on the run trying to prove himself, but realizing that he keeps isolating himself from the people he cares about because of the magic that he's using and the pride that he's putting into it. Now, what I love about this book is it's such a well done prequel style book for the first book of the series. We're introduced to this character in a way that makes him really relatable. He's not this wizened old wizard, as many of the wizards at the time when this book came out would have been. He's a young boy, he's scared, he's nervous, and Le Guin is very anti-war, anti-violence, so we never see this magic being used in a violent and terrifying way. Instead, it is very structured and very much, again, based on words. I love the magic system in this book. In order to control something, you have to know what its true name is. And I think that is such an interesting concept, that to know a name is to know control over something. And Le Guin does this so well. The idea of tying the magic to language and linguistics is super interesting to me, and I think it's a really cool concept that Le Guin works into this world really interestingly. Le Guin is also just a master of world building. I loved exploring this world, everything that was happening in it, all the different islands that he goes to. I think it's such a well fleshed out novel. Le Guin is not interested in making something flashy and amazing. She's interested in telling a compelling story and creating an interesting world and having worthwhile messages, not those of flashy violence and scary action. She's interested in peace. She's interested in knowledge, and she's interested in so much more than just bloody fights and violent spells. Even now, it's not really something that you see so much of in action today, where there is a lack of action and violence, and where there is action and violence, it's condemned. It's a bad thing. The final book I want to talk about today is Annihilation, and Annihilation is this sort of sci-fi thriller novel, and I genuinely loved this book. The version that I had was a little bit longer than around 200 pages, but it was so engaging that it might have been shorter. I read it all so fast. Annihilation follows these 4 scientists, a surveyor, a biologist, a psychologist, and an anthropologist, who are sent on an expedition to explore something called Area X. This closed off area that has weird mutations, strange creatures, strange psychological effects on the people that go in there, and they are sent to go investigate this place. We follow from the journal of the biologist, who is dictating everything that is happening while they are inside. While they are exploring a weird underground tower, the biologist gets infected with some spores, and these spores allow her to see the reality of the tower that they are investigating, as well as the hypnotic power that the psychologist has on the other members of the expedition party. But the great thing about this novel is that you're never really sure what's real and what is not. Do the spores reveal a truth to her, or do they make her think things that are there aren't actually there? Are they revealing the entire truth or just part? And the hypnosis from the psychologist is only part of the story of what is clouding their vision, while the rest of it is being clouded by the area itself. It is such an incredible book, and it's so engaging, so mysterious. I really wanted to know more, and I think the beauty of this book is that you don't really find out. You don't find out what's going on because the biologist herself doesn't know what's going on. She really doesn't know anything. In fact, you don't even learn the names of these people, and that I think is what makes it so incredible and engaging. It always leaves you wanting more. It always leaves you on the edge of the knowledge where you're getting just a little bit of what could be true, but you don't know. It is so engaging, so mysterious, and so creepy. I absolutely love this book. All right, well, that is all 6 short books that I wanted to share with you today. If you are trying to meet your reading goal, these are great options to pick up, and I hope I gave you some variety of genre and style so that you can find one that you like yourself. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful to you, and let me know in the comments below if you've read any of these books and you enjoy them, or if you have any suggestions for super short books that other people might enjoy as well. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from all of you. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see all of you lovely people in the next video. Bye!